buyer, which buyer agency signed, or you're representing the seller because you have a listing agreement signed. You cannot just do the paperwork and charge a fee. You have to represent one of them.
And can you just talk about the opt-out? So if you did something like that and you don't do the opt-out, it has to hit the MLS, but then I think if you mark it as under contract right away and sold, then you get sort of audited because.
You think you will.
Yeah,
you will, you will.
I've done it.
So, but it's completely legal. It's legitimate. You can do that. As long as the listing agreement is signed before the purchase agreement, I don't care if it's a minute before. As long as the listing agreement is signed before the purchase agreement, you are 100% legit, and the opt-out form would get signed at the listing, at the time of listing. They're gonna audit you in the MLS because anything that goes under contract within 24 hours in the MLS, you're going to get audited automatically. So all you have to do is they're gonna email you and they're gonna say, we want your listing paperwork and we want your purchase agreement. Now, the difference is when you mention an opt-out form, on the opt-out form, you have to send all that to the MLS anyway. So that's the difference. Even if you're not audited, it tells you that you have to send the listing agreement and the opt-out form that's signed by the consumer in order for them to opt it out and be legal.
What's the benefit to the opt-out then? Just, you don't have to enter it in the MLS.
Really, the only benefit, yes, you don't have to enter it in the MLS so that it's not going out and being syndicated to all the different websites. Because even if you put it in there for, let's say, 20 minutes, now all these agents have seen it. You're gonna get calls that are gonna say, I wanted to show this house. How's it under contract already? That's the benefit. That's all. And not bothering the seller, like in Mark's answer is Aunt Joan, she doesn't want to be bothered. She just wants this seller or this buyer to buy her house. That's it. That's the benefit. Yeah.
I have a question via Zoom. What are the guidelines? Okay, coming soon are of course not allowed on the MLS, but what are the guidelines for social media? Are we allowed to create excitement before it hits the market live? If so, what is the timeline for that?
No. The answer is no. There is no timeline. If you publicly market a listing, it must be in the MLS within 24 hours. There's no exception to that. And I will tell you, agents will turn each other in trying to get into a listing. So we've seen it to where we had one agent that put it online and said, hey, it's available, it's coming next week. Oh, by the way, here's the address all of a sudden because people are asking about it. Well, you just publicly marketing a listing that won't be in the MLS for another 7 days. You've now broken the rules and you can be fined and sanctioned for it by the MLS. So
Is personal property exempt from that?
personal property wouldn't matter. I mean, you
Like, cause I'm talking like on Facebook now, I'm talking about my flip. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing. It should be ready by summer. You know, I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for that now, so.
are you giving
Trying and pressing right now.
yeah, are you giving an address or any specifics about
No.
the property? Then I would stay away from it.
Okay.
It's just a gray area. I think the one thing that you always have to remember, which is hard for any of us to remember, is I know you're a human first and your real estate license comes second, but to the division of real estate, you're not a human first, you're a licensee first. And so you can never take off your licensee hat. Even if you're say, well, I wasn't working in capacity as a realtor. Yes, you were. You have a license, you're always working under that capacity, whether you admit it or not. So that's the thing to remember. Yeah.
Can you be vague like Jackson 2, 4-bedroom coming on the market?
Sure, I think, like I said, that's one of the things that you can do. I don't know that I suggest it simply because just like in my previous example, an agent's going to say, send me details, and you're going to send them the address, or you're going to send them information about the house. You've now just broken the rule.
You break the rule once you get specific.
Right.
If you say, hey, I've got a ranch coming in Jackson,
Stay tuned to the MLS.
stay
it'll hit-
tuned, yeah,
in
but
3
no
days.
pictures and no addresses, that's kind of
right.
what makes it specific.
Yeah,
When other agents text you, or you could just say it's gonna hit the market on MLS on Friday,
that's right.
April 12th, whatever.
Yep. Yep. No, I'm not giving you the address. Look in the MLS. You'll see my new listing coming on April 15th. Yep. Yep. Okay. Anything else? Okay, good. Last thing, if you can go to the next slide, it's the Star Bed and Breakfast. So we did this at Keller Williams Living for Red Day. It's called Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and that's where you build beds for kids. Imagine in this world that kids don't have beds, but it's true. And so Sleep in Heavenly Peace is something that we now have in Ohio in different municipalities. And you can donate bedding, or you can donate a bed, or you can go build a bed. So what Star is doing is this year they're going to say, instead of having breakfast in the park, because it's just kind of something that's been going on for 30 some years and it's kind of lost interest, they're going to do this instead. So it's going to be in Trumbull County, but we as a brokerage, for every $100, that's one bed that we can invest. So they're having a broker challenge. So as many $100 bills or $50 bills or $20 bills that you can give, dollar bills, whatever you can give every $100 that this brokerage provides will provide a bed for these kids. If you want to do something even better, if you say, listen, I don't have $100, but I am going to Big Lots and they're going out of closing or whatever, or I'm going to JCPenney and here's a $20 bedroom set for a kid's full-size bed. We will take anything that you can do. And I would also say, I think the date is on here. We also need, May 9th is the
yeah.
deadline. And then Sleep in Heavenly Peace, they are building those in Warren, Ohio. You can go that day, scan the QR code. And so I would just say, if we want to win, let's make sure that we get our money in for the $100. So if you guys can give, please do. Linda?
Just to piggyback on that, if you sign up to go build, you do get a T-shirt. And you get breakfast and lunch.
Good.
Oh,
Nice. What day is the build? I can't remember.
May
May 21st. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
and then there's always, you can go and help deliver if you want to pull at your heartstrings or whatever they do.
Yeah, they won't deliver that day, but you
Right.
can go with the Sleep in Heavenly Peace to deliver the beds to the kids and see their faces light up and stuff. I don't think I could go. I would just be a ball of tears the whole day.
Yeah.
Where do we need, we're like donating bedding or whatever, where do we take it to?
So if you want, actually just bring it in here and we will take it to the Star office. They're in the process of renovating the offices. And so there's not a lot of room to store stuff. We can put it in my office, we can put it in Cassandra's office, Mark's office, whatever. We'll figure out a spot to put it. Just put your name on it and throw it in one of our offices and we'll make sure that the Star gets it.
You want it new though, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, it does have to be new.
One more thing, twin size bedding, I guess they have a whole room full of bedding that they're happy to have, but they really can't use unless they can trade it in, so try to remember it's twin.
Because that's what we're building is twin size beds. I said full, but twin size beds are what are actually getting built. Yeah. So thanks, Linda. Hey, guys, that's all I got. Thank you.
thanks, Rich.
Okay.
Appreciate you. All right, Mr. Lynch, how's it going?
Oh, it's going.
We need an updated headshot. You got different.
No,
different duties
because
days.
in like about 2 hours, it'll be back to that.
Okay.
But hi, everyone. So yes, I'm Chris Lynch. I've met the majority of you before, but if I haven't met you, my team and I would like to meet you. And it's kind of gonna go into what you're talking about. When it comes down to, like, we all know that it is a tough market right now. If you're struggling with like your buyer consultations, and especially if you know those buyers need a loan, let us know. We are willing to do in-person consultations with you. You can Zoom us in, you can call us in and like make it a group effort. Ashley and I, like, we have had to do that with clients. Or like, hey, this is what I'm gonna be doing. What do I need to basically go back to them with to make sure that everyone has like a peace of mind before they essentially sign their life away. But if you are struggling with that, let us know, because we love to do it and we're willing to do it. Also, if you have received any information about Agent Plus and you would like to know more, let me know. Because we can have that conversation, especially like if you are wanting to generate more income. But other than that, we just, like I said, we want to get to know you and have a great time and build something with you guys. And that's about it.
Cool.
Thanks.
Rich. All right. I've got your headshots, but hold off for a minute because we're gonna have some introductory conversation first. Gina, Chris, and Ginger will be joining us as we talk through how to talk with buyers and sellers in today's market. All right, I'd love to hear 3 and 3. What are you hearing from buyers in this market? I'd love to hear 3 responses. What's the question, or what are you hearing from a tone standpoint, buyers wise? Chris.
Are rates gonna come down, or like, is it a good time for me to buy a house because of the economy?
Sure. Economic uncertainty and waiting for things to maybe be better than they are today. Yep. What else?
How do I make my offer stand out?
How do I make my offer stand out? That sounds very specific.
Someone didn't get the house.
Someone recently lost. Yeah, that's, people are still buying and there are competitive scenarios for sure. And so how do I, that both of those are age-old questions that like, what time is it in the market and what should I do relative to the time that it is in the market? And then what can I actually do because I know that I want to buy? What else? Well, give me a third one.
Is it still a seller's market?
Is it still a seller's market? Yeah. It's a very, very true one. How about on the sell side? What are you hearing from sellers? What's the question or the tone?
Question is, can I sell it within 7 days? Is it gonna sell within 7 days?
Okay.
And setting proper expectations for them.
Yep.
Why hasn't my house sold in 7 days?
Yeah.
Mhm. What else?
Why can't,
Prospective sellers.
why can't I list super high?
Yep, why couldn't I just see what I can get? Which is an age-old perspective. Man, I think we got one on Zoom. I'm not gonna open up the Zoom chat.
Nick already covered that. Will you look into this property to see if it will qualify for my type of loan? Oh, that's, I think, is that a
Buyer.
question?
A buyer question, yeah. Is it, will this qualify FHA or does this work for OFA or whatever? Yep. We are seeing that. This is a little more Sandy fill in the blank. Today's market, and this is always true, rewards clarity and confidence. You know, we talk about part of our job as realtors is to open doors and help people see the homes that they might buy or sell. But understanding what's happening in the market, being the economist of choice is important. So being clear and confident with what you're seeing, not just based upon feeling. Oh, I don't know why that got. Oh, why that's doing what it's doing. Okay. We are getting most of the data, so we will be able to work with it. So this is not full market data, but this is a glimpse at what we've seen. I don't know why that cropped. So Q1 of 24 to Q1 of 25, and data helps us move from feelings and opinions into reality, right? And to actually understand what's going on in the market. So the blue column is Legacy's performance during Q1 of 24 and 25. The yellowish column is MLS Now, the areas that we most often serve. So Stark, Summit, Wayne, Tusk, and Carroll counties are the 5 counties that are in this search. And then Navica is for our agents who serve in Mansfield, Ashland, and kind of surrounding communities out there. And they work off of a separate MLS out that way. So let's just talk through this, and I'd love to hear a couple of you reflect on it as we think through what we're seeing in the market. So I'll speak in MLS area terms. So closed sales wise are down. So this quarter last year, 2,600 and 2,500 this year. So down just a marginal amount. Closed volume is also actually down, just a marginal amount in that case. One note that we don't need to go deeper on, but for us, we are down more than the market is, which I saw that and I was a little like, because that's almost never the case. We almost always outperform the market. And I saw that, it's like, oh, there's no way for me to cook that in a positive light. The market beat us in Q1. And so as we think through our narratives and as we think through the business that we're writing, what's the narrative or the habit that I need to address as I think about the business that I'm doing or not doing?
Mark, a point that I will say, we have had a lot of DFTs. I mean, I've signed a lot of those lately, so I think we're writing deals, but they are falling apart. A lot of things are falling apart.
I know the number last year was 1 out of every 6 deals fell through, and I'm hearing Rich say it might be higher than that
It
at
seems
this point.
pretty higher. Right, in the,
Deals fell through. Some people call them bombs back on the market, DFT bombs, yeah. When it doesn't happen. Listings taken, so this is how much new inventory came on, so 3,300 and change during this quarter last year, and 3,500 and change this year. So we're actually seeing more inventory coming on the market. So when people say there's no inventory, how long how long is that narrative working for you? It's not a lot of inventory, and if we were looking at 5 and 10 year trends, we would see that this is still down from historic trends. It is still very much a seller's market, to the question that Nick shared, but it's ticking up. For someone to say that there's no inventory is not true, and that's across the board with Navica as well as MLS. It hasn't been true for us, so we took fewer listings during this period this year than last year. And then these numbers are our particular performance that I'm not going to go deep on. Then this got cropped, but average days on market and I think Navica, I need to look more closely at how Navica pulls it, but either way, average days on market for Navica as well as MLS now is ticking up. Which we see if you're a listing focused agent, you're seeing that trend up a little bit from 42.3 to 45.3 and then 77 to 80. If you, and you probably know this, but if you mark a listing as under contract allow showings, that clock is still running. So that can impact the stats a little bit. Months of inventory. So is it still a seller's market? What's a seller's market, or what's a balanced market? 6 months. So we are ticking up. So 1.6 this time last year to just over 2 in the same period this year, and then same for Navica. So we're seeing a slight trend towards more inventory coming on, stuff staying on a little bit longer, and moving towards, you know, a more buyer friendly environment, but we still have a long ways to go before we would call it a buyer's market. And then the last one that I wanted to share is the percentage of list price received. So in MLS now, 97.9%, 97.6%. So basically steady. And then Navica is actually getting a lower percentage of their list price. Why might that matter in your conversations with sellers? Who wants to take a stab?
We can talk them into pricing it right.
Yeah.
Instead of testing the market, they always say, you know, let's price it about $10,000, $20,000 higher so we can test the market. And I always say no. It'll go stale, and it does.
Correct. And for those who are wondering, because one of you probably is, this is the percentage of original list price, not just the most recent list price. Because I know some withdraw, relist at the new price. This is of original. So we can share that with you if you're curious, but it's always helpful to understand what we're seeing in the market. What other trends are you observing? So as you're talking with buyers and sellers, what other trends are you noticing this year relative to last year? Love to hear just a couple of you chime in. What feels different?
People are doing inspections, as maybe not so much different from last year, but maybe couple of years before that.
Sellers are willing to make the repairs.
Okay, I was gonna say, let's talk about seller concessions for a minute. Are we seeing more seller concessions this time?
Yeah.
Yep. What else? One or two more.
Home warranty, we're cutting that.
As a useful hold the deal together or make it more appealing? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm also seeing from other agents, more of them reverse prospecting and actually actively trying to sell their property, reaching out, be like, hey, what do they really need? The agents are actually more negotiating.
Yes, absolutely. This is the time that I want to invite Ginger, Chris, and Gina to join me up here to talk a little bit more about where they find success in buyer and seller conversations. Gina, everyone knows you. I think everyone knows Chris. I think everyone knows Ginger.
If they don't, they do now.
Yeah, you do now.
Fair advantage, I can't touch the ground.
Stools are exposing, Chris.
Yes.
Good morning, your stool only has 2 out of the 4 bolts on it.
Oh.
So you're safe, but don't get too squirrely.
It will be on camera.
Oh,
It will be on camera.
geez. So before we get into talking about the particular ways that you talk to clients, this topic, conversations with buyers and sellers, assumes conversation period. And in the age of social media, in the age where we're less connected to one another, like we know that we're not selling homes without having consistent conversations with folks. So I'd love to hear at least 2 of you talk about habits that you have to ensure that you are actually in conversation with people as opposed to just being visible to people. Thoughts there?
I'll go. Definitely sticking to a 36 touch campaign of some kind to stay in front of people and following it. So I try to recycle that every 90 days to see what I'm doing and reevaluate, but all the things that we always learn about, smart plans have really been working for me lately. Like, I'm not having to do the outreach tasks. I'm letting the smart plans do the work for me. And then I'm only replying to the people that reply to me. So thank you to Amanda for that, because she spent some time with me to actually create really good smart plans. I think that's the difference. I had always been using them, but lately I'm getting so many responses because there's a hook. There's something that causes them to want to reply, even if it's just a silly question, or they just say stop, whatever it is. So staying in constant contact and never say this. Hey, I'm just checking in. Do you need anything from me? Like, never say that, by the way, never. It's always gotta be, how can I help you? By offering them something, some kind of service. Can I get you this or can I get you that? Or asking them a question about something that's going on. Hey, last time we talked, you said that you were thinking about moving because you were retiring this year. Did you end up retiring? Whatever, but more than just trying to take something from them, but offering something to them.
That's such a great point, and we've all done it. Hey, just checking in, how are things going? And that's not, it's not an illegal question, but if I don't have a need right now, I'm gonna be like, get out of
It's
my.
like asking your kids when they come home from school, what happened today at school? And they say nothing.
Yeah.
You have to ask the right questions, not did you have a good day? Yes. So you have to ask the right questions.
That's a great point. Chris or Ginger, do you want to add to it, how you work to stay in conversation with folks?
We do, I like having some kind of event planned. Events are a great way to offer value, to reach out to people instead of, hey, how's life, what's been going on? Hey, just so you know, we are getting ready to, we do March mailer lotto tickets, which not do that, because apparently I just learned that's illegal. But you cannot mail lottery tickets to people, oops. But so we did that and we did a March mailer with it, we're so lucky to have you kind of thing. Or we do a zoo event, which sounds super expensive, but if you get people to help you, people are usually willing, other businesses to help chip in on that kind of stuff. And then gives you a reason to reach out to your sphere and, hey, just wanted to let you know, free day at the zoo. Obviously that's expensive, so think of things free or cheaper, is the route to go.
Similar theme, think of value you can provide beyond just a check-in.
Yeah.
And the power of the invitation to
Yeah.
the real thing.
Mhm.
Chris, anything you'd add with regards to staying in touch with people?
The biggest thing for me is just keep it personal, so not just reaching out to them about real estate. So maybe if I take notes when I talk to them, and so say they're going to Italy next month, well, put a reminder to talk to them about Italy in a month and a half. So
Yeah.
just how's that go? How did that go? And that actually gets you referrals too, because people, you're their friend, but you have to be their friend. You can't just be, it can't be fake. I guess that's the.
Yes, and that's back to for those who've done bold, the forward concept. Hey, I need to talk with them about real life, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. That's a great point. One quick note with regards to social media, and you mentioned smart plans. A lot of them post, hey, under contract, or here's a thing, or here's a stat, and all of that's good and fair, but good questions that get people engaging. Is the best use of social media. And so we think of conversation as picking up the phone, talking with people, and that's gonna be the highest and best version. But asking a good question that gets good engagement gives you a reason to follow up with folks. I posted something the other day and someone made an interesting comment that I followed up with personally, and kind of the conversation was going in a way that I wouldn't have expected. But it comes from an open-ended question, I think is an important part. And social media should never be your only place, but it can be a valuable place to further the conversation. All right, seller conversations. I'm gonna probably focus this a little bit more with Gina and Ginger. My theme, and we know this, and many of our our clients or our would-be clients know this. Theme for seller conversations is that it's not 2021 anymore. So Ginger, I'd love to put you on the spot for a minute. What do sellers need to understand about this market? If I'm walking in blank slate, I don't know anything about this market, what are you gonna make sure that the seller understands about this market to help set good expectations for them?
Data.
Okay.
No one can argue data. In fact, we pulled up yesterday, I don't know if you all know this or not, but you can actually go into showing time. A good example of this is Gina wants to sell her house. Well, I'm on the fence, or Gina's on the fence of how are we going to price it? I wanna price it higher. In showing time, you can actually pull a report that will tell you at this price point, Gina, they had 6 showings. At this price point, Gina, they had 12. So that's my first step. And I actually, if you guys want to pass this around, oops, I just ripped it. It gives you something to reference what I'm talking about, but show them this market is not like it was a year ago. Here's 3 months worth of inventory, what they started at, how long they sat there, and then had to reduce. And the market, the house goes stale. That's 100% true.
Yep, show them data. Showing time reports is a really valuable. I know we've touched on that in the past. If you haven't played around in there, there is a lot of
There's
valuable.
so much in there.
To help set, that's, I would say, one of the best places to help them set expectations for what to see in this market. What else? Gina or Chris, chime in, what sellers need to understand about this market?
So first, I like to establish a relationship, of course, and pain points. Let's not forget, we need to know why they're doing this. And what their end goal would be. Is the price the most important thing to you, or getting out of this house the most important thing to you? But I live example, I just listed a house 2 days ago, and we could have been with a 5 in front of it. But I told her, if you trust me, because that's why I'm here, I think we need to be 479.9, and then we'll probably get something with the 5 in front of it. Thank God that's what happened.
Yes.
And we got 510 for it.
Yes.
So, but you have to do it that way, you just do. If you're at 5, buyers are looking between 5 and 550, they're not looking below that. If you're at 480, buyers are looking from 450 to 500, and then they'll see it. And also this, if you guys didn't know, the best day to list a property is a Thursday. If you Google it, they'll tell you. And then host an open house immediately that weekend. Mason held that house for me open this weekend on Saturday. And it had 50 groups of people through it. Wow. And if you're not listing your open houses on the MLS, you need to be doing that. Yeah, 50 groups of people. And we had multiple offers, multiple cash offers, and we did get, like I said, over the 480 with 510. And they're putting enough money down at that price point that appraisal won't be an issue. So the conversation I had with her, she listened to me, like I wish everyone would.
Yeah.
In every way. But
Everything goes better when you listen to Gina.
So, I said, if we price it at this amount, I'm pretty certain that we're gonna be able to draw them. Well, here's what's weird, is buyers are only willing to overpay if they're competing with somebody else, but they are not willing to overpay if your list price is too high.
Say that again.
Buyers are willing to overpay, but only when they're competing for an offer in multiple offers. They are not willing to overpay if the price is too high.
Yeah.
So if we were at 501, they wouldn't have offered 510.
Yes.
They wouldn't have come. We wouldn't have been in multiple offers, but because of the multiple offers, everybody's willing to step on top of everybody else to make it happen.
Our best outcome, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is when we create the most competitive environment
That's right.
possible. And so we
Yes.
do that in these ways. Yep. What do sellers, Chris, I'll hit this over to you. What do sellers need to understand about buyers in today's market? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you haven't sold in forever. Things are different than they used to be. What points would you want them to understand about kind of how buyers are thinking about things today?
I think focusing on localized data is real big because we're so different than the national average, and that's what everybody's looking at. And then being able to put it in front of them, like the average days on market, the inventory, over the last 12 months, and then do it really in their area. And you can kind of show like, okay, in December, January, inventory was really low. We're starting to see the inventory going up, but we're also seeing the days on markets going up. So it's kind of getting interesting there. And then explaining, hey, I work with buyers. They are getting more picky, I guess. Not picky, but it's a very large investment. Interest rates are up, so are home prices. So it's not like they feel like they need to just jump on anything. It's got to be the perfect house because it's going to be a lot. So
Someone said to me one time, it's a beauty contest. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's so true.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Anything you can do to make it win the beauty contest from a marketing standpoint is gonna work well for you. And we know that that's true in any market. Chris, the point about price sensitivity is so important. And we get that. We live in it. We talked about it a couple months ago on the family reunion recap, but the average buyer now it's a larger percentage of their world dedicated towards their housing. And for the seller to acknowledge that when I'm under contract, that in one sense, I'm negotiating against the buyer, but in another sense, me sympathizing with the buyer is going to help me get the outcome that I desire. And helping your clients to click into like, hey, we're not on the buyer's team. We want what we want, but the more that we can sympathize with their plight, for lack of better language. Hey, I'm glad that you have your 2.8% interest rate. I'm glad you've got a couple $100,000 in equity. This person doesn't have those things. And so let's think strategically and sympathetically, which doesn't mean that we're bleeding hearts that are giving things away. but that softens them, I think, to the
You
conversation.
can also throw in, not that you would have this problem, but you could also throw in an age. I could tell you when the interest rate was 12%. It's a beautiful town, wait,
Yep,
your
yep,
credit card's 14, what?
Yeah. at least. 24, yeah. Yeah, read the fine print on some of these. All right, I'd love to do a little bit of rapid fire, and I'd love to have a couple of you all chime in. Our goal is to move buyers from browser to buyer. You know, how many of us have worked with a browser in the last handful of months where the more you talk with them and the more you show them, the more you realize, are you how motivated are you? And in this market, we know that if they're not motivated, they're not gonna play ball. In 2020, they could be unmotivated and they could still play ball because the financial numbers were so good. That's no longer the case. So we need to get them into that mindset. So I'd love to hear you guys interact with kind of 3 of our common objections, which were shared before. I'm waiting for rates to drop. Who wants to tackle that? How are you handling that conversation?
They're not. They're not gonna drop to what, or ask the question, to what?
Yes.
You're waiting for rates to drop to what?
Mhm.
2 or 3, never gonna happen again in our lifetime. And there's a thing called refi. So are you gonna let your life that you are trying to move to the next level, whether it's moving up, moving down, moving for a job, or whatever let's not forget, we need to know their pain point, right? And then remind them of that. Has that changed? Has the rates increasing changed your pain point, whatever that is? Because you can always refi.
Mhm.
So,
Data,
yeah.
go back to data every time.
Mhm.
Okay, let's look at the last 5 years.
Right.
Well, we better say 10 at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
At least 7.
Yeah, we're not going back to 2.5, not anytime soon, and if you continue to wait. That's great, but the housing prices are going up while you're waiting for the interest rate to go down, so. It's not going to be a win-win either way.
I also tell people this because this is really true. When we were at 2 and 3%, I never had a buyer call me to say the reason they were buying a house was because of the rate. There's a reason you're buying a house.
Yes.
Married, divorced, having baby, whatever. It never was, I want to buy a house because the rates are low.
Correct.
You just refinance when that's the case.
Right.
So when people hear, oh, I would have thought people were buying houses because we had low rates, the answer is no.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm waiting for the rates to drop. That's an interesting point, Mr. Buyer. In my experience in real estate, no one's ever bought a house because of the rate. They bought it because they needed to buy a house.
Right.
So let's talk about your needs and your situation. How do you handle the prices are too high? Hey, Chris, I want to buy, we're bursting at the seams, but prices are too high right now. How are you interacting with that?
Try to get them to think of a long-term mindset, so show them data from previous years, and then maybe even be personable there. Like, I bought my house here, I thought it was too high then. Looking back, or even that first year, a bunch of stuff happened, I was like, oh, everybody told me to buy, why didn't I stay renting? But now looking back on it, I have over $100,000 in equity, and it's one of the best decisions I made, so it's always kind of the time to buy. But that's one of them, and then just kind of saying compared to what, like, is renting the best option right now? Because that's up to everybody needs a place to stay, so figuring out their situation, and maybe it's not the time to buy, but a lot of times it's not going to get better for the most part, and then just showing them long term that it's an appreciating asset, because a lot of people, especially first time home buyers that are in the market right now, they've never bought an appreciating asset, so they buy a car and then next week they realize it's less than what they paid for it. This is a little different, so.
Ginger, I hear prices are dropping in other cities across the country, so I'm gonna wait till they drop here before I buy. How are you interacting with that?
I'd like to know what city you're referring
Yeah.
to, is my first question.
Austin and Vegas, they're the two. Those are the ones that get all the headlines.
I hear prices are dropping. So, tell me the question again, I'm
I
sorry.
hear prices are dropping elsewhere. I'm gonna wait till they drop here before I buy.
Well, the prices are probably better here than they are elsewhere. I'm not sure what headline you're reading. If you compare us to California or New York or Vegas, Ohio is still one of the best states to purchase real estate in. And to back that up, I could show you 5 different offers I wrote with investors from California buying Ohio property.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
great, and making it personal, and hey, here's a specific instance, and this specific instance doesn't dictate the whole market, but moving it from headlines into your life or their life, I think is what we're trying to do. A couple of just helpful phrases as you're working with buyers that are in the wrong headspace. Let's make a plan together. Like no one just goes and buys a house today. Are they having the right conversations as it relates to plan, thinking through, hey, if we'd like to be somewhere by this point, let's reverse engineer when we would actually need to get the ball rolling. A great question to ask is, if the right home came up tomorrow, what would we do? You know, you got people, oh, we'd love to see this house. And, you know, my lenders in the room are saying like, yes, please, like get them talking with us months ago, because so many people are interested too soon. And then the third one here, when people are talking about interest rates or they're talking about the prices of homes, ask the question, what's your monthly comfort number? Because really, at the end of the day, your monthly cost is the thing. People get into the esoteric, oh, I hear interest rates are up to 6.9. You're not writing an interest rate on your monthly mortgage payment, you're writing an actual dollar amount. So what's your monthly comfort number, and moving people into reality?
I think of car sales when you say that.
Hmm.
When you go to buy a car, they don't ask you, what do you want your interest rate to be? They ask you, what do you want your monthly payment to be?
Yeah.
Nobody cares that it's 15% interest and they stretched it out over 180,000 months.
Yeah,
Right? It's just the monthly. So let's work around that and what makes you comfortable there. Don't focus so much on the interest rate.
yeah, great point. Just a couple parting thoughts and then we'll keep things moving. They said this, but we need to track the data. We need to actually be paying attention on a consistent basis, but as was also said, on a hyper local basis. So the numbers that I just shared with you, that was like Northeast Ohio. You don't sell homes in Northeast Ohio, you sold a home in that particular community. And when you're meeting with particularly a seller in that particular community, Northeast Ohio data is useful, but data for that particular school district, for that particular price point, is far more valuable. So tracking hyper locally, and then setting goals. And for those that are getting ready to join us in Bold, starting next Thursday, tracking your number of conversations per day, tracking the number of CMAs that you do per week, setting goals around those things to say, how can I actually move the needle? Sending market updates to your database. Amanda does some things to help us do that. If we're sending monthly newsletters, hey, a little snapshot to get people curious about what's happening in the market helps in significant ways. Anything else that you guys want to add before we keep things moving as it relates to talking with buyers and sellers? Cool. Let's give him a hand. Thank you. Break commercial, and then Mr. Kevin, you're on deck. Oh. Amanda does so many great things behind the scenes and in front of the scenes sometimes as well. She has put together buyer packets as well as listing packets. Some of you have them, some of you don't. Some of yours are great, some of yours aren't. She's put together really good ones that are like, you can take it and you can customize it. And we thought that rather than just giving it to you to use or not, we would do kind of a 2-part class to here's what the tool is, but here's how to talk it through. Here's how to have the conversation on this page, so that you're presenting and you've got good materials to go along with that. So that'll be in a few weeks. Those fresh headshots. Great job, Chris Guthrie. He made my teeth look whiter than they are. Just that wasn't obvious. As always, schedule time to meet with Amanda. Cutco Kevin. I've stalled long enough. Come on up, my friend. How are you, sir?
I'm well, how are you?
Doing great.
How are all you guys? Good. That's good. Well, we're gonna have some fun today. I'm gonna record myself. If you don't mind.
Okay.
All right. So, raise your hand if you own Cutco. Get all the hands up really high. Okay, for anybody who does own Cutco, I have a quick announcement. If you ever need them serviced, you can go to sharpenmyblades.com and you can schedule an appointment either at your home where I'll come and sharpen the knives for you, or we can actually service you at, now I have a service center that I run out of my basement. Okay, so it's nice, trust me. All right, I can't wait to have you guys in to see it. So you want me to just kind of
Yeah, you do your thing. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna start with a question today. My title didn't show up, did it? Okay, so the title of my talk today is Closing Gifts, Why Even Bother? right? Why even bother with a closing gift? How many people have ever said that? Like, I don't bother giving closing gifts. I've
Some of you
heard it.
have liars.
Yeah, I've heard that. By the way, you're not gonna offend me. I want to start with a story. I want to tell you guys a story about a young wife who sends her husband to the market to buy a ham for Easter, right? Easter's coming up. So he goes into the market, he buys the ham, he thinks he's got like the best ham he's ever seen. And he gets it home, sets it on the counter, and she gives him this look like, what the heck? He's like, what's wrong? She goes, why didn't you have them cut the end off the ham at the meat market? And he goes, I didn't even really know that was a thing. Okay, but I'll go ahead and why don't I ask you this? Why do you cut the end off the ham? She says, well, that's the way my whole family does it. That's the way we've always done it. And he goes, well, let's call your mom and find out why she does it. So he calls mom. Mom says, of course I cut the end off the ham. My whole family cuts the end off the ham when they go to the market. My mom cuts the end off the ham. Everybody in my whole family has. So they call mom. Finally, they say, okay, this is 3 generations. We have no idea why we're doing this. Mom, why do you cut the end off the ham? She says, because my roaster is too small. All right. So my point in telling that story is sometimes in our businesses, we do things because it's the way everybody does it, right? And so with closing gifts, a lot of times it's just expected that we're going to give something as a closing gift. And we don't always take the time to make a strategy behind the gift. Instead, we just kind of give something that is either easy or is inexpensive, right? So I want to kind of run through, I'm a big believer in win-win scenarios, right? I think that's the name of the game in this business. If everybody wins, everybody's happy, you have a successful transaction. Well, with gifting, why don't we look at it as an opportunity for a win-win? So that means that it should benefit both you and your client. All right, that would be a win-win, right? If it benefits your client, but it doesn't benefit you, why would you accept that? Like, it benefits them, it doesn't benefit me. So who benefits from a high quality gift that is used regularly in the home?
Both.
Client.
Why is it both?
Obviously,
The client,
they get to use it, they get to enjoy it.
Okay.
It makes their life better, and they think of you when they use it.
okay. So, I'm not sure exactly what happened. I had slides in like a certain order and they're not showing up, but that's okay. All right, so here's the thing. Let me see if we have all of them in here. It doesn't look like we do. Okay, all right, that's okay. So let's talk about home buying and real estate professionals. So this is actually the 2024 study of home buyers and sellers. And what they say is that 88% of home buyers would use their agent again or recommend them to others, okay? But on the same page, if you just move up to where it says 37% of repeat buyers found their agent through referral and 21% used the agent they previously worked with. So this question about will you use your agent again in the future was asked right after the transaction. And 88% of people said, yes, they want to use you again. What happened between that caused that number to drop to 21% of people using an agent they worked with in the past? I know there's mitigating factors like first-time home buyers and all those things, but it's not enough to compensate for that broad chasm, right? So what happened in the meantime?
I forgot about you.
They forgot you. That's exactly right. So when you think about different examples of gifts, and I don't think my examples.
Yeah, I think you sent two emails and I probably forwarded along the wrong one.
I'm sorry, that's all right, all right. So the first item, how many people here have ever done any online advertising? You pay for click, like Facebook, that kind of thing? Does anybody know what cost per impression is in social media marketing? So basically it's for every 1,000 people that see your ad or your content, whether they clicked it or not, that was something that they measure that and then they say, okay, you have a cost per impression. You want that cost to be low, right? For the people that see your product. What if we looked at gifting the same way? What if we thought about gifting in terms of cost per impression? Because let's talk about a gift basket, for example. If I got $100 gift basket and there's 15 items in it. Okay? And most of the items in a gift basket are consumable, right? They're either consumable or they're things they might already have some of around the house, right? Maybe they're lotions, things like that. I can tell you that if my wife gets a lotion as a gift, she's gonna take it into our bathroom, open the closet, she's gonna throw it in the basket with all the other lotions. And she's not gonna remember where that lotion came from when the time comes, right? So how many impressions did she get for the lotion? She got one because you gave it to her. She opened the basket. She remembered it was from you. She threw it into the basket in our closet, and then she never thought of it again. Thought of you with the lotion, right? So let's say that's 16 impressions. So that's around $6 per impression for that basket, right? Because every time they opened or took something out of the basket, they thought of you. Now let's talk about like drinkware. All right, you guys have all done these. Yetis, I have Polar Camels. These are actually made in the same place as Yetis, but they cost less. We have a whole line of products besides Cutco now that I can help you guys with. But let's assume that somebody uses or sees this 3 times a week, right? I don't know about you guys, I have a cupboard at home full of drinkware that I've gotten at different conferences and stuff. And when I open it, even if I'm not using that cup, I see it and I think about it, right? My friend Tim Dimmoff from Saks here, I'll pass that around. Okay, so let's say 3 times a week, I see that drinkware, right? 3 times a week times 50 weeks out of the year, I get 150 impressions a year. And let's say that it lasts 5 years, right? I'm literally paying pennies for each impression, but I'm keeping myself top of mind with my clients, right? By the way, when it comes to people forgetting your name, I know that we all talk about 36 point touch systems and everybody should do that, absolutely. But the other thing you've got to keep in mind is that all day long, there's other realtors on their Facebook, there's other realtors, there's signs they're driving by. And even though they worked with you and they loved you, a lot of times what happens is the brain just doesn't retain all that information as far as your name and getting a hold of you and all those things, right? So this is a great way for you to do that. So of course, to the reduction to ridiculous, which we like to do as salespeople, when you look at Cutco, all right, is there anybody here who's owned Cutco for more than 30 years? Anybody? 20 years? 10 years? Huh? Carol's not here. Yeah, Carol's had Cutco for 20 years.
Somewhere exotic right now.
So, yeah, so reality is I have so many customers that have had Cutco 20, 30, 40 years, all right? And the average person is gonna have their Cutco for 40 years. And let's say they use it 3 times a week. And this is guaranteed forever. That means you can leverage the guarantee to get it sharpened and all those kind of things, right? So we can utilize that. Carol does that here too. We do these service events. You have an opportunity to take that and then move it, take that opportunity to basically put yourself in a situation where you're paying less than a penny per impression. And I'll pass these around for anybody who hasn't seen them before. It's one of the gifts that Marcy gives out. By the way, Marcy will rave about the shears all the time. And I have one other gift I want to show you guys before I go, because there's another way to think about cost per impression. With Cutco, it's going to go into their kitchen and they're going to see it for the next 40 years, right? This is made by Polar Camel and it's made using the same technology as the cups, you know, the tumblers, the travel mugs. So if I want to put a casserole in this, it'll keep it hot or it'll keep it cold for hours. So if I decide to take this to my church picnic because my real estate agent gave it to me as a gift, and it happens to have their logo on one side and my name on the other side, that's a walking endorsement for that real estate agent. And it's basically the opportunity to reach somebody at a family reunion, a picnic. You take your reach beyond that. So there was one other slide that's really important. Is it possible? It's here somewhere? No. Okay, I had a QR code on my phone because I want you guys to be able to enter to win. So that QR code is not valid at this point.
Well, we can drop it on the Facebook page.
Yeah, okay.
If you
Well,
want.
and then I'm gonna do, then I'll hold the drawing off for 24 hours.
Okay,
Okay, I'll do the drawing
By
tomorrow
noon
night.
tomorrow.
Yeah, by noon tomorrow, there you go. So I will send the QR code and we'll get it out on the Facebook page and basically you can enter to win a Cutco knife. And then also, of course, I'll send you more information about our gifts. We have everything you need to gift your clients and everything you need to attract new clients. We are an entire promotional products consulting firm at this point. So you guys want pens, you want business card, I mean, I know you guys do a lot of your business cards and things through Keller, but anything you need as far as putting your logo on something, we're able to help you with that. And what we want to do is help you strategize so that it stands out, so that it's not just something that everybody else is doing, right? That's why one of my favorite promotional products to give away is the Cutco guy is Band-Aids. People remember that, right? It's fun. So would love to talk to you more about how we can get your name in front of your clients on a regular basis forever without spending more money than you already are, right? And I'll pass this bowl around.
Awesome.
This thing is amazing, by the way.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. 3 minutes, folks. We will just fire through a few more things. And one of them is probably the reason some of you guys are here. We're doing our giveaway this month. It's a detailing, right? For your car. Car detailing. If your car doesn't need it, you can remove yourself from it. My car needs it. So
You won last week or last month.
did I though? Did I?
I didn't pick you out and get it closing again, so sorry.
All right.
Forgive me.
And if we get to like 8 people again, we're gonna reevaluate our strategy because that's. All right, and our winner. Oh, it's almost Michelle Knight twice. It's Mark Kovac on the Zoom. Can you please check?
More chances.
Unless he's iPhone 51.
Don't join his icons, people. We're rolling. I'm gonna give it. We're going up to 5 and then we'll call it because I don't want to do this for forever. Tracy Whaley, are you on the Zoom?
Is she in task? What are we giving away?
She was
Hard,
on.
we're giving away a hard detail.
I am on the Zoom.
Tracy, all right, there we go. He's like flipping homes right now, so I'm sure her card could use the love. Hey, second try. I felt much better about that than last one. All right, we are almost there, folks. Hang with, and Tracy, we'll get that to you. Our team will get to you and follow with you reporting. Easter egg hunt coming up Saturday. Here's the details. Look at the Facebook page. Spread the word with your people. It's a great client event in the box for you. Oh, okay. Sorry. And Bold, oh goodness. Bold starts a week from Thursday. We have 23 people from our market center registered for First Step. There is still space for First Step. There is still space for full Bolds. It's gonna be a great experience as always. Our education day, I think Caitlin's probably on Zoom. Our education day in April, coming up in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from today, is I Know a Guy. So for those of you who are looking to kind of build your book of business as it relates to referral partners, we're gonna have a basement foundation guy, we're gonna have a HVAC guy, we're gonna have I forget.
Electrician.
Yep. A handful of trades coming, teaching us a little bit and giving us the opportunity to kind of strengthen our databases that way. There will be a giveaway as well to encourage your attendance. So thank you, Caitlin and the Education Committee for pulling that together. Did we want to say anything specific about Red Day?
Sign up, check your inbox, type in Red Day, sign up. There's 2 options for our Stark County folks. Blood drive here. The Bloodmobile will be here. If you sign up, you can pick your time slot. The other one is we will be at a park. We're starting out at Stark Wayne Schrader Park. It's somewhere around the Timken Company. We're gonna start there, do some painting of a fence and cleanup, and then if time allows after lunch, we'll split up into those original 2 parks that we planned on serving at.
This is one of those Like, this is a part of what we do at KW, and so if you're like, I don't know, the weather's not great today, like, no, this is part of what we do as our culture in a way that we give back to the communities that we serve. If in your mind you say, I could come for 2 hours, but I couldn't come for 4 hours, come for 2 hours. You know, we want everyone's participation as much as possible. And we have shirt signups in the email as
Yeah,
well.
shirt signups are in the email as well. We
Those
will,
need to be done by when?
April 13th, Monday. No,
Monday.
Sunday.
Okay,
April
so
13th
get a
is
minute, if
Sunday.
you want a Red Day branded t-shirt to show up that way.
The design is in the sign up, if you
Okay.
wanna see what it looks like.
Great, and that's probably, we have a youth attorney coming up, Friday, June 6th. Ooh, running it back. Okay, okay. That'll be fun. It was fun last time, and that was it. Okay, thank you for hanging a handful of extra minutes. Stay for lunch. I appreciate you all.